Yes, good day, class. I welcome you to our new topic of today, our new subject. Of course, we are going to talk about national electricity grid. How is our electricity produced in, for example, South Africa, in South African context? So it is two natural sciences, grade 9, topic 6, national electricity grid. Just to define some terms there. Just to define some terms. Define some terms, that is terminology that we are going to talk about very fast. Without wasting any time, we are to look at these terms that I've put on my board here so that we can define and work with them as we go. What is a transformer? What is a transformer? It is a device that steps the voltage up to a higher volume or steps the voltage down to a lower value. So a transformer, it is a regulator. It is actually a device that steps, that regulates, it regulates the voltage. It regulates the voltage by either increasing it or decreasing it to a what? To a higher or lower value. So it actually steps down the voltage. It steps the voltage up, that is to say it increases up to a high voltage or to a high volume, or it lowers down, steps the voltage down, which is to say it decreases. It decreases to a lower value. That is a transformer. It actually regulates the voltage by either increasing it or decreasing it. That's the transformer. The grid overload. What is grid overload? What is grid overload? The demand for electricity is more than available supply. If that occurs, if that happens, that is grid overload. When the demand, the electricity that is needed, the demand for electricity is more than available supply, we call that grid overload. It is called grid overload. It's defined as grid overload. So let's just for additional notes, please note that this presentation is based from page 153 to page 151 to page 153 of your textbook. Just refer to that and you can keep connected. Most South Africa's electricity is produced in coal burning. It is mostly produced in coal burning. Most of South Africa's electricity, South African electricity, is mostly produced from coal burning power stations, which result in serious air pollution. I'm sure we have already talked about the burning of fossils, to say that when fossils are burned, they produce what? They produce serious air pollution. The electricity that is generated has to be transported to the rest of the country along thousands of kilometers of power lines. When electricity is produced, it is actually shared across the country. It is shared around the provinces, actually the country as a whole, through the transmission, which is done by the power lines. It is done by the power lines. It is transported through power lines to the rest of the parts, or to the rest parts of the world. The problem with the large, long power lines is that the resistance of the wires results in wastage or a waste of electricity. That is what? A disadvantage. Disadvantage of what? The problem with the long power lines. Disadvantage of long power lines. Disadvantage of long power lines is that the resistance of the power lines results in what? In waste of electricity. In order to make sure that the electricity can be transported or can be shared across the country, long power lines are used. However, they've got a problem of what? Of high resistance, which can result in waste of electricity. When electricity is transported on long distances, it has to be used, or the power lines that are to be used, they've got a high resistance, which results in what? In wastage of electricity. In order to reduce that, the electricity is boosted by a transformer. A transformer is used. Electricity is boosted by a transformer when it leaves the power station. In order to reduce the wastage of electricity, a transformer is used. When the electricity reaches its destination, a substation lowers the voltage for what? For household usages. As you can understand that there is what is called a transformer that can either increase or decrease the voltage of electricity. So when it is transported from the production station, when it reaches to the substations, a transformer is given or is installed, which can reduce the voltage of electricity for household usages when it is to be distributed to the households for use. All the power stations, transformers, and substation power lines form the national grid. All the power stations, the national grid is formed by all the power stations, all the transformers, the substation, and the power lines. They are forming a national grid. Together, summed up, they give us what? A national grid. So please, class, note that when we are to understand the components of a national grid, we must understand that there is power stations involved. There are there are transformers that are involved. There are substations which are built from the main power station, and also the power lines. Together, they give us our national grid. Together, they give us our national grid. Grid overload. If the demand for electricity is more than ESCOM can provide, we implement, or they implement what is called load shedding. When the demand is more than what can be generated, ESCOM can put in place load shedding, a system where power to certain areas is cut. Power is cut from certain areas. That is what is called what? Load shedding. This is done to prevent grid overload. So in other ways, class understand that load shedding, it is actually an approach which is put in place by our service provider of electricity in order to avoid grid overload by cutting off electricity from other areas. So therefore, the overloading cannot be found or cannot exist. A power surge is the sudden increase in voltage supply. Power surge is the sudden increase in voltage supply. It is a sudden increase in voltage supply. This can be caused by lightning. That can be caused by lightning or redirecting power. And power surges can damage sensitive electronics such as computers and cell phones. A sudden increase in voltage supply is what is called power surge. And then it can be caused by electricity. It can be caused by redirecting power. Therefore, it is very dangerous since it can damage sensitive electronics such as computers and also such as computers and also cell phones. Power surge protectors can be installed in order to avoid damaging of sensitive electronics. Power surge protectors can be installed in a household to protect electronics from power surges. That can be done. What is the function of surge protectors? Surge protectors are actually put in place as to protect the household from problems of what, of power surges, which can damage sensitive electronics. Therefore, we put power surge protectors. And then let's just work out the following. Please work out the following. Please work out the following just to make sure that you have understood. Work out the following just to check if we have understood the lesson. Explain why electricity transported by power lines needs to be at a very high voltage. Why must it be at high voltage? This has been said in our presentation. I actually explained that. However, let's just repeat it for summing up our lesson. The resistance in the power lines causes loss of electricity. That is one reason. And then, so the electricity is transported at high voltage to reduce the loss of electricity. To reduce the loss of electricity. So when electricity is to be transported, it needs to be transported at high voltage in order to ensure that when there is resistance, some power is lost, and then we need to have high voltage for in case of the loss of electricity that might arise. Explain what is meant by load shedding. Explain what is meant by load shedding. It is when the demand for electricity is greater than the available supply. Electricity is cut from or is cut for certain areas. So that is what is load shedding. Load shedding, it is an experience, it is a scenario, it is a situation that arises when demand for electricity is greater than available supply, and then ESCOM or a national service provider of electricity cut electricity for certain areas. Then we call that what? We call that load shedding. That is what is called load shedding. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to the next presentations that are coming anytime soon. Just keep connected, turn on your notification button and keep connected. Thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful day. Thank you.